In the heart of a relentless storm, a desperate cry split the night. Tied to a centuries-old oak on the edge of Maple Grove, a pregnant German shepherd fought for her life, and for the lives of her unborn puppies. What follows is a harrowing account that will move you to tears and shock you beyond belief. Have you ever witnessed such raw, unyielding courage? Stay with us, and please share in the comments where you're watching from. That night, the wind howled like a wounded beast, battering the small town of Maple Grove with an intensity few had ever seen. At the modest Anderson family home, the storm's fury caused the windows to shudder, as if trembling in fear. Violent bursts of rain pounded the glass, each drop determined to break through the sanctuary the family so dearly cherished. Inside, the warm, inviting house, 5-year-old Liam Anderson pressed his tiny hands against the cold window pane. His bright green eyes, wide with wonder, drank in the chaotic beauty outside. To him, the world had transformed into a swirling tapestry of nature's raw power, a tempest that roared, danced, and whispered secret tales. "Look, Mommy, the trees are dancing," he murmured, his voice trembling not with fear but with a deep, almost mystical curiosity. In the kitchen, the inviting aroma of freshly baked dinner, Emily Anderson's special chicken pot pie, filled the air. Her gentle voice floated from the room. "Liam, come eat before it gets cold." Meanwhile, Thomas Anderson, seated with his morning newspaper, smiled fondly at his son's marvel. "Quite a storm, huh, buddy? You aren't scared, are you?" he asked. Liam simply shook his head. Instead of fear, his heart brimmed with excitement and possibility. Just as the family was about to settle in for dinner, an eerie sound crept into the fabric of that wild night, a high-pitched, desperate whine that cut through the roar of the wind. Liam's face, illuminated by the flickering light of a nearby lamp and streaked with raindrops, suddenly turned solemn. "Mommy, Daddy, someone's crying," he whispered, his small voice almost lost in the tempest's roar. Emily and Thomas exchanged worried glances. Thomas moved to the window, half expecting only the natural symphony of the storm. "I only hear the wind, buddy," he reassured, placing a gentle hand on Liam's shoulder. Yet Liam was insistent. He pointed, his little finger trembling with determination, toward the backyard. There, hidden in the shadow of a massive, gnarled oak, the ancient sentinel marking the boundary between their property and the dark, whispering woods, a forlorn sound beckoned. "There, someone's crying," he repeated, his tone a mix of urgency and compassion. Defying every rational instinct, Thomas knew they couldn't ignore that cry for help. "Liam, wait. You can't go out in this storm," he pleaded. But the boy's determined face told a different story. "Daddy, please, she's hurt," Liam insisted, his voice quivering with both fear and resolve. Without another word, Thomas grabbed a flashlight and his heavy, rain-drenched jacket. Even before he could warn further, Liam darted toward the front door, exclaiming, "Hurry, she's begging for help." Stepping into the tempest was like entering another realm, a world where nature's fury was nearly tangible, and every raindrop felt like a piercing needle. Clutching Liam's hand tightly, Thomas led his son toward the looming oak at the very edge of their yard. This mighty tree, scarred by decades of weathering countless storms, stood as the boundary between the safety of home and the wild unknown of the woods. The narrow beam of Thomas's flashlight cut through the swirling rain, revealing a scene of heartbreak. There, chained to the trunk of the ancient oak, lay a battered German shepherd. Her once lustrous coat was now caked in mud and streaked with fresh blood, and the chain around her neck was so tight it had etched deep, painful wounds into her skin. Her swollen belly was a silent testament to the new life growing inside her. As her large, soulful eyes, brimming with pain and a desperate plea for mercy, met the rescuer's gaze, a heavy sorrow filled the air. Liam sank to his knees, his small hands reaching out toward the suffering creature. "It's okay. We're here now," he whispered, his voice gentle and full of compassion far beyond his years. In that tender moment, the dog's eyes glimmered with a quiet luminescence that reminded Liam of the first light of dawn. Instantly, he declared her name to be Aurora. As if in silent agreement, Aurora stirred slightly, and the chain clattered in protest at the thought of easing her pain. "No, she's going to have puppies," Liam said softly, the realization deepening the urgency. "We have to help her." Without hesitation, Thomas retrieved a pair of bolt cutters from the garage. Despite the biting cold seeping through his bones, his hands worked methodically. With one decisive metallic snap, the chain began to give way. For a brief, heart-stopping moment, Aurora flinched as if relieved at the prospect of freedom. Yet, even as the heavy chain fell to the ground, part of the collar remained cruelly embedded in her neck, a bitter reminder of her prolonged torment. Hearing the call for help, Emily grabbed her raincoat and joined her husband and son. Together they hurried back to the oak, their boots splashing in murky puddles as they worked swiftly to free the injured animal. Drenched yet undeterred, Liam positioned himself in front of Aurora like a tiny guardian. "She needs me, Daddy," he insisted, his voice firm despite his small size. With utmost care, the family wrapped Aurora in a soft blanket. Despite her injuries and the lingering weight of her past abuse, the brave dog managed a few unsteady steps, her spirit unbroken. Back inside the Anderson home, the living room was transformed into a makeshift sanctuary. Towels, blankets, and every scrap of soft cushioning were gathered to form a temporary bed for the injured dog. Outside, the raging storm was momentarily held at bay by the warm glow of a hastily built fire in the fireplace. As the family gathered around their fragile new friend, Aurora began to show signs of labor. A low, pained moan emanated from deep within her throat, and it was clear that the relentless storm had triggered contractions. Liam knelt by her side, his face a portrait of worry and awe. "Mommy, she's hurting so much, but she's so brave," he murmured as he gently stroked her matted fur, offering soft words of encouragement. Thomas carefully set aside the bolt cutters and helped position Aurora for the imminent birth, while Emily, though gripped by fear at the overwhelming circumstances, maintained a calm presence. "We're here for you, Aurora. You're going to have your puppies and they'll be safe with us," she reassured, gathering extra towels and blankets to create a nest of warmth by the flickering fire. The atmosphere shifted palpably as Aurora's labor intensified. One by one, with a blend of pain and triumph, she gave birth. The first puppy emerged, a tiny, slick bundle still wrapped in a delicate, translucent membrane. For a long, breathless moment, the room fell silent as everyone watched the miracle of life unfolding amidst the echoes of suffering and resilience. Liam, with trembling fingers, helped clear the membrane from the newborn's face, his eyes alight with both fear and hope. Minutes passed, and Aurora delivered 4 more healthy puppies in rapid succession. Their soft whimpers mingled with Aurora's exhausted moans, filling the room with an overwhelming mix of joy and sorrow. But just as the 4th puppy nestled safely against her side, Aurora's strength began to fade. Her breathing grew shallow, her eyes glazed with fatigue, and the stubborn remnants of the chain still embedded in her neck served as a stark reminder of the cruelty she had endured. "She needs help," Thomas murmured, his voice heavy with sorrow and anger. Before Thomas could decide to rush Aurora to the veterinarian, an ominous presence made itself known. Outside, as the fury of the storm began to wane, a tall, shadowy figure moved silently among the trees. Thomas's eyes narrowed as he caught sight of a shape watching them with an unsettling, cold intent. For several long, heart-stopping seconds, the figure stood motionless, a silent observer hidden in the darkness, before retreating deeper into the woods. Inside, as Aurora continued. To labor, Liam's small voice broke the tense silence. "Mommy, someone's out there. The bad man is here," he said, his words barely audible over the pounding rain. Emily's heart pounded as she hurriedly pulled him away from the window. "Stay away from the glass, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice a mix of fear and fierce protectiveness. Determined to secure their haven, Thomas quickly checked every door and window, ensuring they were locked tight. "I've got the baseball bat by the back door and the old hunting rifle in the closet," he assured them, his tone resolute despite the tremor of uncertainty underlying every word. Liam, unwavering in his determination, repeated softly, "Aurora needs me. I can feel her." In that moment, the Anderson family's resolve solidified. They would protect Aurora and her precious puppies at all costs. Just as the family began to settle into their temporary refuge, a loud, insistent knock shattered the fragile calm. Emily's heart leapt as she peered through the rain-smeared glass at a figure standing in a dark raincoat on the doorstep. "It's me," Thomas called, cautiously approaching the door. When he opened it, he was met by a tall deputy from the Maple Grove Police Department, his uniform soaked and his expression etched with grim professionalism. "I received a call about a disturbance," the deputy explained, tipping his hat as he took in the scene. Emily quickly recounted the night's events. "We found a pregnant German shepherd chained to our oak tree. She's hurt, and she's just given birth to 5 puppies." The deputy's eyes widened as he scribbled notes. "There have been whispers of illegal dog-fighting rings in the neighboring county," he murmured gravely. "Sometimes they dump the females once they've been overused." Before the deputy could depart, another presence entered the scene, a man whose very arrival seemed to darken the room. Clad in a dark overcoat with hair the color of autumn wheat and piercing ice-cold blue eyes, he introduced himself in a voice as smooth as polished marble. "My name is Damian Blackwell." With deliberate calm, he produced a small leather wallet containing identification and registration papers for Aurora. Dr. Olivia Reed, the local veterinarian who had been called earlier, took the documents with a furrowed brow. "These appear legitimate," she admitted reluctantly, though the grievous evidence of abuse, Aurora's wounded neck and scarred fur, spoke of a far darker truth. Damian's eyes locked with Liam's, and with surprising conviction, the little boy declared, "You're a bad man. Aurora told me everything." For a moment the air thickened with tension. Then, in a cold, dismissive tone, Damian snapped, "Children should be seen and not heard, and you have no idea what you're talking about." But Liam's small chin rose defiantly as he continued, "Her name is Aurora now, and these are her babies, and they're staying with us." His words ignited a confrontation that soon escalated into a standoff. Thomas stepped forward, gripping the baseball bat tightly as he positioned himself between Damian and his son. "This dog was found abused and abandoned on our property," he declared, his voice ringing with righteous anger. "If you want to claim her, you'll have to explain the condition in which we found her." Dr. Reed added firmly, "I'm legally obligated to report suspected animal abuse." With a dangerous glint in his eyes, Damian produced a folded document, a court order signed that very morning by Judge Reynolds, notorious for favoring powerful donors. "Legally, she belongs to me," Damian stated flatly. Liam's face paled, yet his determination did not waver. "I won't let you hurt her again," he vowed, his voice trembling yet resolute. For a long, heavy moment the room was silent as the adults exchanged anxious glances. Then, without another word, Damian turned and left, his footsteps echoing down the hall as flashing blue lights from a sheriff's cruiser illuminated the scene outside, a promise of unfinished business hanging in the air. As the night deepened, the fierce confrontation gave way to a somber urgency. Sheriff Roberts soon arrived, his presence a blend of authority and weariness. "This man is trying to claim Aurora based on that court order," he explained calmly. But there's also an active investigation into animal abuse, with additional patrols dispatched and a deputy stationed outside. The threat of Damien Blackwell still loomed large. Inside the temporary animal clinic the Andersons had set up in their living room, Dr. Reed worked swiftly and methodically to treat Aurora's injuries. With expert precision, she sedated the brave dog and began the delicate process of removing the remnants of the chain embedded in her neck. Throughout the procedure, Liam refused to be separated from his beloved friend. He clutched Aurora's paw and whispered, "I'm here, Aurora," his small voice a constant beacon of comfort. For a brief moment, even as Aurora drifted under sedation, her eyes flickered open as if to acknowledge the unyielding love in Liam's gaze. Once Aurora's wounds were stabilized and the puppies were confirmed to be nursing well, a fragile calm settled over the Anderson home. Yet the memory of Damien Blackwell's intrusion and his cold claim over Aurora left a mark that would not soon fade. Liam, his belief in his special connection with Aurora unshaken, insisted that she talked to him, not in words, but in silent feelings and images that only his tender heart could decipher. "I know she's with us," he declared softly, his voice blending hope with sadness. Emily and Thomas exchanged a look, a mixture of pride for their son's empathy and fear of the darkness that had nearly consumed their lives that night. In the days and months that followed, the story of the pregnant German shepherd chained to an ancient oak spread throughout Maple Grove and beyond. Local media hailed Aurora as the moon dog, inspired by the ethereal glow that Liam swore shone in her eyes, even amid the storm's fury. Reporters marveled at the courage of a little boy who had heard a cry for help through walls of rain and wind, while community members rallied around the Anderson family in an outpouring of support. As investigations into Damien Blackwell's nefarious dealings advanced, unsettling details emerged. Rumors of a sinister dog-fighting ring, stolen police canines, and clandestine networks exploiting innocent animals came to light. Dr. Reed's meticulous documentation, along with microchip data revealing discrepancies in ownership records, painted a damning portrait of a man who viewed living creatures as nothing more than expendable property. For the Andersons, the battle was deeply personal, a crusade for the dignity of a gentle soul who had suffered indescribable cruelty. Liam's nightly vigil by Aurora's makeshift resting place became a sacred ritual. Even after Aurora eventually passed, he would sit for hours beneath the ancient oak, speaking softly to the fading memory of the brave dog who had once saved him from the encroaching darkness. "Sometimes when I'm almost asleep, I feel her watching over me and her puppies," he confided one quiet afternoon, as the soft light of early spring filtered through the oak's leaves. Emily knelt beside him, her voice tender yet resolute. "You're doing wonderfully, sweetheart. Aurora would be so proud of you." In the wake of that fateful night, the Andersons assumed the responsibility of caring for Aurora's orphaned puppies. Each tiny bundle became a symbol of hope, a living testament to her indomitable spirit and sacrifice. Liam learned to prepare special formula, keep the puppies warm on chilly nights, and soothe them with gentle words and unwavering love. Even as he mourned the loss of his brave friend, he nurtured these fragile lives, determined to honor Aurora's legacy. Meanwhile, the investigation into Damien Blackwell's operations intensified. Sheriff Roberts coordinated with state police and animal control to unravel the network of corruption that had enabled his cruelty. Witness testimonies, microchip data, and hard evidence slowly built a case against him, exposing a web of exploitation that extended far beyond Maple Grove. The legal battles were long and arduous, but every new piece of evidence brought the community one step closer to justice. Even as whispers of Damien Blackwell's possible return haunted the quiet nights, the Andersons refused to live in fear. Thomas and Emily reinforced their home and maintained a vigilant watch. On nights when the wind whispered through the trees, Emily would often find herself peering out the window, heart pounding at the thought of that cold, calculating gaze from the woods. And on such nights, Liam would sit quietly beneath the ancient oak, eyes lifted as if waiting for a sign from Aurora. One such night, as the world outside slumbered beneath a blanket of darkness, Emily awoke to the sound of soft footsteps on the lawn. With her heart in her throat, she crept to the window and gasped as she saw, bathed in the pale glow of the hay, moon, a tall, thin figure moving slowly between the houses. It was Damien Blackwell, his face eerily calm, his eyes reflecting a chill that sent shivers down her spine. For several long, tense moments he stood silently before raising a hand, in what might have been a warning, then melting back into the shadows. That haunting vision stayed with Emily throughout the day, a stark reminder that evil often lurks in even the most peaceful places. As months turned into years, the extraordinary events of that stormy night became a cherished legend in Maple Grove. Aurora, the brave German shepherd who had been chained to an ancient oak, was posthumously celebrated as a hero, a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and the enduring power of love. Dubbed the Moondog by the local press, her story ignited a passion for animal rights and inspired community efforts to rescue and rehabilitate abused animals. The Anderson family, forever changed by that night, emerged as passionate advocates for compassion, sharing their story at local events, schools, and community gatherings. Liam, who once possessed an uncanny ability to connect with animals, grew up carrying the legacy of that fateful night in his heart. Often he would return to the old oak where it all began, sitting quietly beneath its sprawling branches and remembering the gentle way Aurora had looked at him, the way she had trusted him unconditionally. "She's still with us," he would murmur softly, a small smile tugging at his lips as he recalled the warmth of her final lick and the tender bond they had shared. In time, Aurora's 5 puppies grew into strong, loving dogs, each one a living reminder of her sacrifice and the hope that had emerged from such darkness. They became beloved companions not only to Liam, but to the entire Maple Grove community. The story of Aurora and the courageous little boy who refused to ignore a cry for help resonated far and wide, spurring changes in local animal welfare laws and inspiring similar rescue efforts in neighboring towns. Yet the memory of Damien Blackwell's cruelty and the threat he represented remained a stark reminder of the dangers that still lurked in the shadows. The legal battle against his illicit dog-fighting operations and his attempts to claim Aurora as his property raged on, exposing a network of corruption and abuse. But for the Andersons, the fight was never just about legal ownership. It was about defending the dignity of every living creature and ensuring that no act of cruelty would go unanswered. Every full moon, as the silver light bathed the quiet streets of Maple Grove, neighbors would pause in silent remembrance of Aurora, the brave, gentle soul who had defied a raging storm and sparked a revolution of compassion. The soft, almost ethereal sound of a distant bark, carried on the night breeze, served as a timeless message. Even in the darkest storms, the light of love and kindness can never be extinguished. Years later, the legacy of that unforgettable night continued to shine brightly. The Andersons had become pillars of their community, renowned for their unwavering dedication to animal welfare. Liam, now older, yet still imbued with that remarkable empathy, often shared his memories of Aurora with quiet reverence. "She talked to me," he would say softly, "not in words, but in feelings and images that filled my heart. She told me that no matter what, she'd always be with us." The story of the pregnant German shepherd chained to an ancient oak, a tale of unimaginable cruelty, heroic rescue, and the healing power of love, was passed down from one generation to the next. For the people of Maple Grove, Aurora was more than just a dog. She was a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience, and a living testament to the idea that even the smallest among us can ignite a revolution of compassion. If this story has touched your heart, please like, share, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Remember, every creature deserves love, respect, and protection. Sometimes the smallest among us, a dog, a puppy, a child, can show us the greatest courage and teach us the most important lessons about what it means to be truly human.